I gave her 10 years of my life. 10 birthdays, 10 anniversaries, 10 Januaries with jasmine in her hair. And then, in one phone call, it all came undone. She wasn't who I married. She never was. The candles flickered between us, casting shadows across her face in that little restaurant off Nimmenhamen Road. Chanika smiled at me, that gentle smile I'd woken up to for a decade, and slid a small envelope across the table. The paper was cream-colored, expensive-looking, not the kind of thing she usually bought. "Open," she said softly, her voice almost a whisper. A few nights ago, I received an email from a longtime viewer of this channel, someone who said he's watched every story I've ever shared, from the first heartbreak to the latest betrayal. He wrote, "Your stories help me face my own truth, but I think it's time I share mine." I remember sitting in my kitchen, coffee going cold beside me, as I read his message. At first I felt curiosity, that quiet pull that always comes when someone opens their heart. But as I kept reading, something inside me sank. His words weren't just familiar, they were too familiar. The same patterns, the same excuses, the same moment where love turns into something unrecognizable. By the time I finished, I just sat there staring at the screen, the weight of it pressing down like humidity before a storm. It's strange how even after all these stories, betrayal still finds new ways to sting. And maybe that's why I keep doing this, why I keep sitting here, late at night, recording these confessions. Because somewhere out there, someone is living through the same pain right now, thinking they're the only one. If you've been here for a while, if you've liked, commented, or quietly listened from across the world, I just want to say thank you. Really. You're the reason this channel exists. You're the reason these stories still matter. So wherever you're watching from, Chiang Mai, London, Perth, Manila, tell me where you are. Drop a comment below. And if you haven't already, subscribe and be part of this small corner of truth we've built together. Because tonight's story, it's one I felt in my bones. Let me take you back to where it all started. Her English was still simple after all these years, still carried that melodic Thai accent that I'd grown to love, but I'd never minded. I liked the quiet between us. I liked that we didn't need fancy words to understand each other. I opened it carefully, not wanting to tear it. Inside, in careful handwriting that must have taken her hours to perfect, it read, "Thank you for choosing me. 10 years, you give me life I never dream. I am blessed." My chest tightened. I felt that familiar warmth spreading through me, the same feeling I'd had when I first realized I was falling in love with her. I reached across the table and took her hand. Her fingers were small in mine, delicate, with those perfectly manicured nails she always kept painted a soft pink. "I'm the one who's blessed, love," I said, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. She looked down, almost shy, the way she always did when I complimented her, and squeezed my fingers. "You too kind," she said. The waiter appeared then, a young Thai man in a crisp white shirt, and placed our dishes in front of us. Pad Thai for her, the way she always ordered it, with extra peanuts and lime on the side. Green curry for me, spicy enough to make my eyes water but not so much that I couldn't enjoy it. It was the same order we'd had on our first anniversary, and our 5th, and every year in between. I looked around the restaurant, at the warm lights strung across the ceiling like little stars, at the wooden tables worn smooth by years of use, at the way the candlelight danced in her dark eyes. The smell of lemongrass and basil hung in the air, mixing with the sweetness of coconut milk and the sharp tang of fish sauce. This was my life now. This was home. I'd left England behind, left the cold gray skies and the bitter divorce, and the loneliness that had nearly killed me, and I'd found something real here, something simple, something worth holding on to. "You happy?" she asked, watching me with those eyes that always seemed to see right through me. "Very," I said, and I smiled at her. "Are you?" She nodded slowly, thoughtfully, as if she was considering the question carefully. "I happy. You good man, Graham, best man I ever know." I believed her. God help me. I believed every single word that came out of her mouth. I had no reason not to. She'd never given me a reason to doubt her, not once in 10 years. She'd been perfect, patient, loving, everything my ex-wife hadn't been. I lifted my glass of wine, a decent Shiraz they'd started stocking just for me because I came here so often. "To 10 more years," I said. She clinked her glass of mango juice against mine. "To 10 more," she repeated. We ate slowly, savoring every bite, talking about small things. She told me about her sister's new baby, about how her mother's garden was growing well this year, about the new market that had opened up near our house. I told her about the book I'd been reading, about the email I'd gotten from my son back in England, about how I'd finally fixed that leaky tap in the bathroom. Normal things, married things. The kind of comfortable conversation that only comes after years of knowing someone. After dinner, we walked through the night market, hand in hand. She stopped at a stall selling flowers and I bought her jasmine, like I always did. The vendor was an old woman who recognized us, who smiled and gave us an extra string for free. "Happy anniversary," she said in broken English. Chanika pinned the jasmine in her hair, and the sweet scent filled the air around us. We walked back to our car slowly, in no rush to get home, just enjoying the warm night and each other's company. When we got home, I unlocked the door and she went straight to the kitchen to make tea, her nightly ritual. I sat on the couch and watched her move around our kitchen, this woman who'd become my whole world. I thought about how lucky I was, how close I'd come to missing all of this. If I hadn't walked into that spa 7 years ago, if I hadn't taken a chance on love again, if I'd let my fear and my bitterness keep me locked away, I would have missed this, all of this. "What you thinking?" she asked, bringing me a cup of tea. "Just how much I love you," I said. She sat beside me, curling her feet under her, and rested her head on my shoulder. "I love you too," she said quietly. We sat like that for a long time, in comfortable silence, sipping our tea and listening to the sounds of the neighborhood settling down for the night. I kissed the top of her head, breathing in the jasmine and the faint scent of her shampoo. This was peace. This was everything I'd ever wanted. Back then, 7 years ago, I was 52 and drowning, not literally, but close enough. The divorce had gutted me in ways I'm still not sure I fully understand. 23 years of marriage, gone in the stroke of a pen. My ex-wife, Susan, didn't even fight for it. She just said she was done, that she'd been unhappy for years, that she needed to find herself. I remember standing in our kitchen, the one we'd renovated together 5 years earlier, watching her pack her things into boxes and feeling like I was watching my entire life being dismantled piece by piece. "Don't you feel anything?" I'd asked her. She'd looked at me with these cold, distant eyes and said, "I feel relieved." That was it. No tears, no regret. Just relief. We split everything down the middle, sold the house in Sheffield, divided the money from the sale. Fair and square, the lawyer said, but it didn't feel fair. It felt like I'd lost everything. My son, Marcus, was 25 and living in London by then. He'd taken his mother's side, though he tried to pretend he was neutral. He'd call once a month, maybe, and we'd have these stilted conversations where neither of us really said what we meant. "How's work?" I'd ask. "Fine," he'd say. "How are you holding up?" "Fine," I'd say. And that would be it. My mates tried to help. They'd invite me to the pub, to football matches, to barbecues with their families, but I felt like a ghost at those gatherings, like I was watching life happen through a window instead of actually living it. They'd talk about their wives, their kids, their holidays, and I'd smile and nod and feel the weight of my failure pressing down on me. Then came the heart attack. Minor, the doctor said, but enough to scare the hell out of me. I was at work, doing a routine inspection on the railway tracks, when I felt this crushing pain in my chest. I thought I was dying right there in the Sheffield cold, surrounded by rust and metal and the smell of diesel. They rushed me to hospital, ran tests, put a stent in, told me I needed to reduce my stress levels and change my lifestyle. Early retirement might be a good option, my doctor said. So I did it. I took the pension, sold what little I had left, and looked around at my empty flat and my empty life and thought, what's keeping me here? My son didn't need me. My ex-wife certainly didn't want me. My mates were kind, but they had their own lives. England felt like a tomb. I'd read articles about men like me, lonely divorced blokes who moved to Thailand for a fresh start. I'd always thought they were pathetic, running away from their problems, chasing after young women who only wanted their money. But sitting in that flat, eating takeaway curry alone for the 5th night in a row, watching the rain streak down my window, I understood them. I understood the desperate need to escape. So I bought a one-way ticket to Chiang Mai. I told myself it was for the weather, for my health, for the low cost of living. But really, I just needed to be somewhere I didn't feel like a complete failure. The first few weeks were strange. Everything smelled different, sounded different, tasted different. The heat was oppressive at first, the humidity making my clothes stick to my skin. I'd rented a little apartment on the outskirts of the old city. Nothing special, just a bedroom and a small living area, and a kitchen I barely used. I'd wake up early, too early, my body still on English time, and I'd walk through the streets before they got too crowded. I'd watch the monks in their orange robes walking barefoot to collect alms, and I'd wonder what it felt like to have that kind of peace, that kind of purpose. I'd sit in cafes and nurse cups of terrible instant coffee, watching tourists and expats and locals all mixing together. I'd walk through the night markets and stare at all the things for sale, the silk scarves and the carved elephants, and the bootleg DVDs. And I'd buy nothing because I had nowhere to put anything and no one to give anything to. I was lonely. God, I was so lonely. It was a different kind of loneliness than I'd felt in England. There, I'd been lonely because I was surrounded by people who knew me and saw me as a failure. Here, I was lonely because no one knew me at all. I was invisible. Just another middle-aged white guy wandering around Thailand trying to find something he'd lost. One afternoon, about 6 weeks after I'd arrived, I was walking down a side street near Nimmenhamen when I passed a small spa. It wasn't one of those flashy tourist places with bright signs and girls in matching uniforms calling out to passers-by. It was quiet, understated, just a wooden sign that said traditional Thai massage in English and Thai. I'd never been to a spa before. It wasn't something blokes from Sheffield did. But my back was killing me from all the walking, and I thought, why not? What did I have to lose? I pushed open the door and stepped into cool, dim interior. It smelled like eucalyptus and something floral I couldn't identify. There was soft music playing, some kind of instrumental Thai music with flutes and strings, and there, sitting at a small desk near the entrance, writing something in a notebook, was her. She looked up when I came in, and she smiled. Not the practiced, professional smile I'd expected, a real one, warm and genuine, and a little curious. "Sawadee ka," she said, pressing her palms together in a way. "Hello," I said awkwardly, not sure what to do with my hands. "You speak English?" "Little bit," she said, still smiling. "You want massage?" "Yes, please," I said. "My back's been giving me trouble." She nodded and stood up, gesturing for me to follow her. She was small, maybe 5'2", with long black hair tied back in a ponytail, and a simple cotton dress that came to her knees. She moved gracefully, like a dancer, and I found myself watching the way she walked. She led me to a small room with a massage table, and told me to change into the loose cotton clothes folded on a chair. "I come back," she said, and closed the door behind her. I changed, feeling ridiculous in the baggy pants and shirt, and lay face down on the table. When she came back, she didn't speak at first. She just started working on my back, her hands strong and sure, finding all the knots and tension I'd been carrying. It hurt at first, that good kind of hurt that meant something was being fixed, and I groaned despite myself. "You very tight," she said. "You carry much stress." "You could say that," I muttered into the table. "You on holiday?" she asked as she worked on my shoulders. "Sort of," I said. "I moved here, retired." "Ah," she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "You like Chiang Mai?" "It's nice," I said. "Quiet. You have family here?" "No," I said. "Just me." She was quiet for a moment, her hands moving down my spine. "You look tired," she said finally. "Not in body. In soul." I lifted my head to look at her, surprised. She was watching me with these dark, intelligent eyes, her expression serious. "That obvious?" I asked. She shrugged. "I see many people. You different, you carry something heavy." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just put my head back down. She kept working in silence, and I felt something loosen in my chest, something I hadn't even realized was clenched tight. When the massage was over, I felt better than I had in months. Not just physically, but in some deeper way I couldn't quite name. I paid her, adding a generous tip, and she walked me back to the entrance. "You come back," she said, and it didn't sound like a sales pitch, it sounded like an invitation. Like she actually wanted to see me again. "Maybe I will," I said. "What's your name?" "Chanika," she said. "And you?" "Graham," I said. She repeated it, the way she pronounced it making it sound softer, more musical. "Graham. Nice to meet you." I left feeling lighter than I had in months, maybe years. I told myself it was just the massage, just the relief of having some of the tension worked out of my muscles. But I knew it was more than that. It was the way she'd looked at me. the way she'd seen something in me that I thought had died. The next week, I went back, and the week after that. Each time, we'd talk a little more. She told me about her life, about growing up in a village outside Chiang Mai, about her father dying when she was 15, about how she'd moved to the city to work and send money back to her mother and sisters. I told her about my divorce, about my son, about feeling lost. She listened in a way no one had listened to me in years. She didn't judge. She didn't offer platitudes or empty reassurance. She just listened and nodded and sometimes said, "That must be hard." After my fourth visit, she suggested we get coffee at the cafe next door. We sat at a small table outside, watching people walk by, and she told me about her dreams. She wanted to open her own business someday, maybe a small restaurant or a guest house. She wanted to take care of her mother, to make sure her sisters could finish school. She wanted a quiet life, she said, no drama, just peace. "What about you?" she asked. "What you want?" I looked at her across the table, this young woman who barely knew me but somehow understood me better than people I'd known for decades, and I said, "I want to feel alive again." She reached across the table and touched my hand. Just a brief touch, her fingertips against my knuckles, but it sent electricity through me. "You will," she said. "I think you already starting." 3 months later, I asked her to dinner, not at the cafe, but at a proper restaurant. I was nervous, more nervous than I'd been in years. I kept telling myself I was being ridiculous, that she was 29 years younger than me, that she was just being kind and I was reading too much into it. But then she said yes, and she smiled in a way that made my heart race, and I thought maybe, just maybe, this was real. We went to a restaurant by the river, one of those places with tables on a wooden deck overlooking the water. The sun was setting, painting everything gold and orange and pink. She wore a dress I hadn't seen before, dark blue with small white flowers, and she'd let her hair down so it fell past her shoulders. She looked beautiful. We talked for hours, about everything and nothing. She told me about her childhood, about climbing trees and playing in rice paddies and helping her mother cook. I told her about growing up in Sheffield, about working on the railways, about the first time I'd seen snow. We laughed. God, we laughed so much. I couldn't remember the last time I'd laughed like that. When dinner was over, we walked along the river. The night market was in full swing, vendors calling out, tourists bargaining, the smell of grilled meat and sweet coconut filling the air. She stopped at a flower stall and I bought her jasmine, watching as the vendor wove it into a string and she pinned it in her hair. In Thailand, jasmine mean love and respect, she told me. It mean you care for someone. Then it's perfect. I said. We stopped walking and stood there by the river, just looking at each other. The noise of the market faded away. It was just us. "Graham," she said softly. "Yes, I have good time tonight, best time in long time." "Me too," I said. "Can we do this again?" She nodded. I like that very much. I wanted to kiss her. I wanted to pull her close and kiss her and tell her that I was falling for her, that she'd made me feel human again. But I didn't. I was afraid. Afraid of rejection, afraid of making a fool of myself, afraid that I was just another lonely old man chasing a fantasy. So I just said, "I'll call you tomorrow." She smiled. "Okay." I wait. Over the next 3 months, we saw each other almost every day. Sometimes we'd have dinner. Sometimes we'd just walk through the city, exploring temples and markets and little side streets I'd never noticed before. She taught me basic Thai phrases. I taught her more English. We'd sit in parks and people watch, making up stories about the strangers passing by. I met her family. Her mother, a tiny woman with kind eyes and rough, work-worn hands, who hugged me and spoke rapid Thai that Chanaka translated. "She say you have good face. She say you make me smile." Her 2 younger sisters, teenagers who giggled and whispered and asked me questions about England. Her uncle, who spoke some English and wanted to know about football. They welcomed me, treated me like family. It felt incredible. One evening, we were at my apartment. I'd cooked dinner, nothing fancy, just spaghetti bolognese, but she'd never had it before and she declared it delicious. We were sitting on my couch, her feet tucked up under her, my arm around her shoulders, watching some terrible Thai soap opera that she was trying to explain to me. "She love him but he marry her sister because family say he must," she said, pointing at the screen. "Why doesn't he just tell the Mary?" "Truth?" I asked. She laughed. Because then no drama, no show. I kissed her. I didn't plan it. I just turned and kissed her. She kissed me back, her hand coming up to cut my cheek, and it felt like everything I'd been looking for. When we finally pulled apart, she was smiling. I wait long time for you to do that, she said. I was nervous. I admitted. Why? You think I say no? I don't know, I said. I'm so much older than you. I didn't want to presume. She shook her head. Age just number. You make me happy. That what matter. That night, she stayed over. We didn't sleep together, not in that way. We just lay in my bed, her head on my chest, my arm around her, talking until we both drifted off. It was the best sleep I'd had in years. 2 months after that, I proposed. I know, it sounds crazy, too fast. But when you're my age, when you've been through what I'd been through, you learn not to waste time. You learn that life is short and happiness is rare, and when you find something good, you hold on to it. I took her to Doi Suthep, the temple on the mountain overlooking Chiang Mai. We climbed the 300 steps to the top, past the dragon statues and the vendors selling offerings. At the top, with the whole city spread out below us and the golden chetty gleaming in the sun, I got down on one knee. Chanaka, I said, I know this is fast. I know I'm not perfect. I'm old and I'm broke and I'm damaged. But I love you. I love you more than I thought I could love anyone. You make me want to live again. Will you marry me? I'd bought a ring, a simple gold band with a small diamond, nothing extravagant because I couldn't afford extravagant, but I hoped it was enough. She looked at the ring, then at me, and tears started running down her cheeks. You sure? She asked. You really want me? I've never been more sure of anything in my life, I said. She nodded, crying and laughing at the same time. Yes. Yes, I marry you. I stood up and slid the ring on her finger and kissed her, and around us, tourists applauded and took photos, and an old Thai woman selling incense gave us a blessing. We got married a month later at a small temple just outside the city. Her family came, all of them, dressed in traditional Thai clothes that Chanaka had rented for the occasion. I wore a suit I'd bought from a tailor in the old city. Nothing fancy but respectable. We went through the traditional ceremonies, the monks chanting blessings, the sacred thread wrapped around our wrists, the water blessing where her relatives poured water over our hands. I didn't understand most of it, but I felt the weight of it, the significance. Her mother held my hand during one of the ceremonies and spoke to me in Thai. Chanaka translated, her voice thick with emotion. She say you good heart. She say she trust you with her daughter. She say thank you for take care of her. I squeezed her mother's hand. I'll take care of her, I promised. I'll always take care of her. After the ceremony, we had a small party at a restaurant her family knew. There was food, so much food, dishes I'd never tried before, some I couldn't even identify. There was laughter and music and dancing. Her uncle got drunk on Mekong whiskey and told long rambling stories that had everyone in stitches. Her sisters taught me a traditional Thai dance and I stumbled through it, feeling ridiculous but not caring because Chanika was laughing and clapping and looking at me like I was the only man in the world. That night, in the hotel room I'd booked for our wedding night, she lay in my arms and whispered, "I so happy. I never think I'd be this happy." "Me neither," I said, kissing her forehead. "Me neither." We found a house about 3 weeks after the wedding. Nothing fancy, just a small 2-bedroom place on the outskirts of Chiang Mai, near enough to the city that we could get there easily but far enough out that it was quiet. It had a small garden, a kitchen with enough space for 2 people to cook together, a living room with big windows that let in the morning light. It needed work. The paint was peeling, the bathroom needed updating, the garden was overgrown. But I saw potential. We saw potential. I bought it outright, with the money I had left from my retirement and the sale of everything back in England. It wasn't much, but it was ours. We spent the first month making it a home. I painted the walls while she scrubbed the floors. We planted vegetables in the garden, tomatoes and chilies and Thai basil. We bought furniture from second-hand shops in the weekend market, mixing and matching until it somehow all worked together. She hung curtains she'd sewn herself, white cotton with little embroidered flowers. I built shelves for her growing collection of cookbooks. Every evening, she'd cook dinner. She was an incredible cook, better than any restaurant I'd been to. She'd make things her mother had taught her, curries and stir-fries and soups that made my eyes water and my taste buds sing. She'd watch me eat, anxious until I took the first bite and smiled, and then she'd relax and eat her own portion. "You like?" She'd always ask. I love it, I'd always say. And I always meant it. Our routine settled into something comfortable. I'd wake up around 6, before she did, and make coffee. Strong and black, the way I'd always drunk it. I'd sit in the garden with my cup and watch the sun come up, listen to the birds, feel the cool morning air before the heat of the day set in. She'd join me around 7, still in her pajamas, her hair messy from sleep, and she'd curl up next to me with her own cup of tea. We wouldn't talk much. We didn't need to. It was enough just to be together. After breakfast, she'd go to the market. Every morning, she'd take her basket and walk the 15 minutes to the local market where she knew all the vendors by name. She'd come back with fresh vegetables, fish, chicken, whatever she needed for that day's meals. She never bought more than we needed. No waste, she'd say. We buy fresh every day. I'd spend my mornings reading or working in the garden or running errands. Nothing urgent, nothing stressful. Just the gentle rhythm of daily life. Sometimes I'd meet up with Mick, a British expat I'd met at a bar in the old city. He was about my age, divorced like me, but more cynical about it. We'd have lunch, and he'd complain about the heat, or the traffic, or the Thai government, and I'd listen and nod and not really agree but not argue either. You're lucky, you know, he said to me once, about 6 months after the wedding. What do you mean? I asked. Your wife, she seems genuine. Most of these Thai women, they're just after the money. But yours, I don't know. She seems different. She is different. I said firmly. He snorted. Mate, you married a girl 30 years younger than you. Don't you think that's a bit dodgy? I felt anger flash through me. It's not like that. She's not after my money. I don't even have that much money. Then what's she after? He asked, leaning back and lighting a cigarette. Maybe she just loves me, I said. You ever think of that? He raised his eyebrows. Mate, no offense, but come on. You're 60-something, she's 20-something. She could have any bloke she wanted. Then why'd she choose me? I demanded. He shrugged. Security. Visa. Better life than she had. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, don't be naive. These women are smart. They know what they're doing. I should have listened to him. God, I should have listened. But I was so convinced he was wrong, so sure that what Chanika and I had was real, that I dismissed everything he said as jealousy or bitterness. I went home that day, and she was in the kitchen, making larb, one of my favorite dishes. She smiled when she saw me. You have good day? She asked. It was fine, I said, kissing her cheek. Mick says hello. She wrinkled her nose. I know like Mick. He have bad heart. He's just lonely, I said, defending him even though part of me agreed with her. Maybe, she said. But he try make you lonely too. You be careful with him. I laughed and pulled her close. I could never be lonely with you. She wrapped her arms around my waist and rested her head on my chest. Good. Because I want you lonely. I want you happy. I am happy, I said. And I meant it. Our life fell into a pattern. Weekdays were quiet, domestic. Weekends we'd do things together. Sometimes we'd drive out to her village and spend the day with her family. Her mother would cook huge meals, and we'd all sit on the floor, eating with our hands from shared plates. Her sisters would teach me card games I didn't understand and laugh when I lost. Her uncle would bring out the whiskey and we'd drink and talk, him speaking Thai and me speaking English and Chanika translating, all of us getting progressively drunker and happier. Sometimes we'd explore. We'd drive to temples I'd never heard of, walk through caves filled with Buddha statues, swim in waterfalls hidden in the jungle. She'd take photos on her old Nokia, blurry pictures that barely showed anything but that she treasured. For remember, she'd say, when we old, we look at picture and remember. We're going to have so many memories, I said. Yes, she agreed. So many. I noticed she never had a smartphone. All her friends did. I'd see them at restaurants or markets, glued to their screens, taking selfies, posting on Facebook and Line. But not Chanika. She had that old Nokia, the kind you could barely text on, let alone use the internet. Why don't you get a smartphone? I asked her once. She shrugged. No need. I have you. I have family. Why I need phone? Everyone has one, I said. I not everyone, she said, and kissed me. I thought it was sweet. Endearing. A sign that she wasn't caught up in all the modern nonsense, that she valued real connection over digital connection. Now I wonder if it was something else. If, She didn't want a phone that could be tracked, that would leave a digital footprint. But back then, I thought it was one more thing that made her perfect. She never asked for much. That was another thing I loved about her. Some of the guys I knew, the ones married to Thai women, they complained constantly about the demands. The money sent back to the village, the gold jewelry expected for birthdays and holidays, the new motorbikes and house renovations and everything else. But Chanika never asked for anything. "You sure you don't want anything for your birthday?" I'd ask. "I have you," she'd say. "That enough." For our first anniversary, I bought her a gold necklace. Nothing extravagant, just a delicate chain with a small pendant. She cried when she opened it. "Too much." She said, "You no need buy me things." "I want to." I said, "You're my wife. Let me spoil you." She wore it every day after that, never took it off. I'd see her touch it sometimes, absently, while she was cooking or reading, and I'd feel this warmth in my chest. I did that. I made her happy. The first few years were blissful. I can't think of another word for it. We had little arguments occasionally, the kind every couple has. She'd get annoyed when I left wet towels on the bathroom floor. I'd get frustrated when she cooked food too spicy for me. But they were small things, nothing that ever threatened what we had. We'd apologize, laugh it off, move on. She got a part-time job at a local school teaching Thai massage to tourists. It was only a few hours a week, but she loved it. She'd come home and tell me about the students, the funny questions they'd ask, the way they'd grown when she worked on their tight muscles. "You like teaching?" I asked. "I love." She said, "I love help people feel better." She gave me her earnings at the end of each week, a modest amount in Thai baht. "For house," she'd say. "No," I'd say, pushing it back to her. "That's your money. Save it. Spend it on yourself." "We married," she'd insist. "My money, your money. Your money, my money." So we opened a joint account at the local bank. I'd deposit my pension every month, she'd deposit her earnings, and we'd use it for groceries and bills and whatever else we needed. Mr. Pizet, the bank manager, was a friendly man. Always smiling, always helpful. He'd process our transactions and make small talk about the weather or the latest football match. "You have beautiful wife," he said to me once. "Thank you," I said proudly. "She is. You lucky man," he said. "She clearly love you very much." "I'm the lucky one," I said. In the evenings, we'd sit outside. We had 2 plastic chairs set up in the garden, positioned so we could watch the sunset. She'd bring out tea or beer, depending on the day, and we'd sit there as the sky turned pink and orange and purple. We'd talk about our days, about her students or the vegetables growing in the garden, or what we should do that weekend. Sometimes we wouldn't talk at all. We'd just sit there, holding hands, watching the world slow down. I'd look at her, at the jasmine she always wore in her hair, at the way the fading light made her skin glow, and I'd think, I don't deserve this, I don't deserve her. But somehow, by some miracle, I got her anyway. The call came on a Tuesday morning in our 10th year of marriage. I'd been working in the garden, pulling weeds from around the chili plants, my hands covered in dirt. It was hot, the kind of oppressive heat that made your clothes stick to your skin and sweat drip down your back. I was looking forward to a cold shower and a beer. My phone rang from where I'd left it on the patio table. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. I got spam calls sometimes, people trying to sell me insurance or timeshares or who knows what. But something made me pick it up. "Hello?" I said, my voice rough from the heat. "Hello? Is this Mr. Graham Thompson?" A man's voice asked. Formal. Official. "Yes, that's me. Who's calling?" "This is Officer Chanthawat from Chiang Mai Immigration Police. Do you have a moment to speak?" My stomach dropped. Immigration Police. Visa issues? Had I done something wrong? "Yes, of course," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "What's this about?" "Nothing to worry about, sir. This is routine matter. We are processing background check for visa application. Your wife's name appear on request from foreign embassy. We need confirm some details." "Okay," I said slowly, my heart starting to beat faster. "What do you need to know?" "Can you confirm your wife's full legal name, please?" "Chanika Thompson," I said. Her maiden name was Chanika Somchai. There was a pause. I could hear papers rustling. "And when did you marry, sir?" 10 years ago, May 15th, 2015. More rustling. The pause stretched out. "Sir," I need to ask you something. Are you aware that your wife has previous identification under different name? The world tilted. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. According to our records, your wife has been registered under multiple names. Her current identification show Chanika Sumchai, but previous records show Charya Namsuk, also different birth date. You know about this? I couldn't breathe. The phone felt heavy in my hand. The heat seemed to press down on me from all sides. No, I managed. I didn't know that. I see, he said, his tone neutral. This sometimes happen. People change name for various reason. But for visa application, we need accurate information. Can you ask your wife to contact us? We need to verify her identity documents. Yes, I said. I'll ask her. Thank you, sir. Here is reference number. He rattled off a series of numbers and letters. I didn't write them down. I couldn't. My hand was shaking too much. If you have question, you can call this office. Ask for Officer Chanthawat. Right, I said. Thank you. I hung up. Stood there in the garden with dirt under my nails and sweat running down my face and the phone clutched in my hand. Charya, not Chanika. Charya Namsuk. A different birth date. Multiple names. I walked inside. The house was quiet. She was at the school, teaching. She wouldn't be home for another 2 hours. I sat down at the kitchen table and stared at the wall. 10 years. 10 years of marriage and I didn't even know her real name. How was that possible? How could I have married someone, lived with someone, shared a bed and a life with someone, and not know something so fundamental? I tried to think back to our wedding, to the paperwork we'd filled out. Had I seen her ID card? I must have. But I couldn't read Thai. I just signed where they told me to sign, trusted that everything was correct. She'd handled most of it, worked with the translator at the district office. I'd just shown up and smiled and felt grateful that she was willing to marry me. What else didn't I know? The question kept repeating in my mind, over and over. What else didn't I know? I thought about calling her, confronting her right then over the phone. But something stopped me. I needed to see her face when I asked. I needed to see her reaction. So I waited. I took a shower, changed my clothes, opened a beer, and sat on the couch, waiting. The minutes crawled by. I couldn't focus on anything. I picked up my book and read the same paragraph 5 times without absorbing a single word. I turned on the television and stared at the screen without seeing what was playing. My mind kept spinning, trying to make sense of it, trying to find an innocent explanation. Maybe she'd changed her name legally and just never mentioned it. Maybe it was a translation issue. Maybe there was a perfectly reasonable explanation, and I was worrying over nothing. But deep down, I knew. Something was wrong. When I heard her motorbike pull up outside, my heart started racing. I heard her come in through the front door, heard her call out, "I home," like she always did. "In here," I said. She came into the living room, still wearing her work clothes, her hair pulled back. She was smiling, but the smile faded when she saw my face. "What wrong?" she asked. I took a breath. "I got a call today, from the immigration police." She went very still. "Why they call?" "They said they're doing a background check. For a visa application. They said your name came up." Her face was unreadable. "Okay. They said you have a different name in their records. Charya Namsuk. They said you have a different birth date." She didn't say anything. Just stood there, looking at me. "Is it true?" I asked. "Is your name really Chanika?" She looked down at her hands. Then she nodded, so slightly I almost missed it. "Yes, it true." The confirmation hit me like a physical blow. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, and I hated how my voice broke. "Because I want new life," she said quietly. "Old life was hard. I changed name to get better work. That all. That all?" I repeated, standing up. "Chanika, we've been married 10 years. 10 years. And you never thought to mention that you have a different name? That you lied on our marriage certificate?" "I not lie," she said, her voice rising. "I changed name legal. It my name now." "But it wasn't your name when we met," I said. "It wasn't your name when we got married." "It not matter," she said. "I am same person. Name just word. It matters to me." I shouted, and she flinched. I never shouted. In 10 years I'd never raised my voice to her. I took a breath, trying to calm down. "What else haven't you told me?" She crossed her arms, defensive. "Nothing. Don't lie to me, I said. Please, just tell me the truth. She looked at me for a long moment. I could see her weighing something, deciding. Then she said, I work in Bangkok before I meet you. You told me that. I said, you said you worked in a spa. Not spa, she said. Bar. Go-go bar. The floor seemed to drop out from under me. What? I dance, she said, looking me straight in the eye now. I meet men, foreign men. I need money for family. My mother's sick. My sister needs school. I do what I must. I sat back down heavily. You were a bar girl. She winced at the term. I was dancer. I was worker. I was woman trying to survive. Did you? I couldn't even finish the question. She knew what I was asking. Sometimes, she said, if I need money, if they pay enough, but not many, and I always careful. I felt sick. And you never thought I should know this? Why? She asked, and there was anger in her voice now. Why I tell you? So you judge me? So you think I dirty? So you no marry me? I would have understood. I said, but even as I said it, I wasn't sure it was true. No, she said firmly. You would not. You would see me different. You would think of me with other men. You would wonder if I really love you, or if I just want your money. Do you? I asked. Do you really love me? She looked like I'd slapped her. How you ask me that? I stay with you 10 years. I take care of you. I be good wife. That's not an answer, I said. She turned away from me. I have good life with you. I happy. That not enough? It's not the same as love, I said. She spun back around. You want me say I fall in love with you first moment I see you? That bullshit. You know that bullshit. I see you and I think, this man lonely, this man kind, this man maybe can help me. Yes. I think that. But then I know you. Then I care for you. Then I love you. Maybe not how you want. Maybe not fairy tale. But I do love you. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. But I couldn't shake the feeling that everything I thought I knew was a lie. What else? I asked. What else haven't you told me? She hesitated. There was German man, she said finally. Before you. You had a boyfriend? She shook her head. Not boyfriend. Husband. The word hung in the air between us. You were married? I asked, my voice barely audible. For visa, she said, quickly. He pay me. We marry, get visa, then we annul after few months. It not real marriage. But you were married. I said, you were married and you never told me. It not mean anything, she insisted. It business, that all. I stood up. I had to get out of there. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I need to go, I said. Graham, please, she said, reaching for me. I stepped back. Don't. Just don't. I need to be alone. Where you go? I don't know, I said. Anywhere but here. I grabbed my wallet and my keys and walked out. She called after me, but I didn't stop. I got in the car and drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just drove through the city, through streets I'd walked 1,000 times, past restaurants where we'd eaten, past the temple where we'd gotten married, past the spa where we'd met. Everything looked different now. Tainted. I found a hotel, not a nice one, just a cheap place near the old city. Budget rooms for backpackers and broke tourists. I paid for 3 nights in cash and took the key. The room was small and stale. There was a hard bed with a thin mattress, a tiny bathroom with a shower that probably didn't have hot water, a window that looked out onto a concrete wall. I sat on the edge of the bed and put my head in my hands. Who was she? Who was the woman I'd spent 10 years with? I thought I knew her. I thought I knew everything about her. But I didn't know her name. I didn't know her past. I didn't know if anything she'd told me was real. The worst part was, I still loved her. Even after everything, even after the lies and the secrets and the feeling of betrayal burning in my chest, I still loved her. And I hated myself for it. I pulled out my phone. 3 missed calls from her. 2 text messages. Please come home. We talk, please. I turned off my phone and lay down on the bed, fully clothed, and stared at the ceiling. The fan spun slowly overhead, creaking with every rotation. I didn't sleep. I just lay there, replaying every moment of our relationship, looking for the signs I'd missed, the red flags I'd ignored. They were there. They'd always been there. I'd just been too desperate, too lonely, too grateful to see them. Morning came and I still hadn't slept. My eyes were dry and gritty. My back ached from the hard mattress. I got up, splashed water on my face, and looked at myself in the cracked bathroom mirror. I looked old. Older than my 62 years. The lines around my eyes were deeper. My skin was gray. I looked like what I was. A fool. I turned my phone back on. 7 more missed calls. 5 more messages. I deleted them all without reading them. I needed answers, real answers, not whatever half-truths she was going to feed me. I thought about who I could ask, who would tell me the truth. Then I remembered. The bank. We had that joint account. I'd been putting money in for years, trusting that she was using it for household expenses. But what if she wasn't? What if she'd been sending money somewhere else? I got dressed and walked to the bank. It was only a few blocks from the hotel. The morning was already hot, the sun beating down mercilessly. By the time I got there, my shirt was sticking to my back. Mr. Pizet was at his desk. He smiled when he saw me, that same friendly smile he always had. "Mr. Graham, good morning. How can I help you today?" "I need to see the transaction history on my account," I said. "The joint one with my wife." Something in my tone must have worried him because his smile faltered. "Of course, sir. Is there a problem?" "I just need to see it," I said. "All transactions. For the last 5 years." He nodded slowly and turned to his computer. His fingers moved over the keyboard. He frowned slightly as he scrolled through the records. "I will print this for you," he said. The printer whirred to life. Page after page came out. He handed them to me, still looking concerned. "Sir, if you need anything else." "Thank you," I said, cutting him off. I took the papers to a chair in the corner of the bank and started reading. At first, everything looked normal. Grocery stores, the electric company, water bills, gas for the car, the market, all the mundane expenses of daily life. Then I saw them, transfers, large ones, 20,000 baht, 30,000, sometimes 50,000, all to an account I didn't recognize. The name on the receiving account, Cherya Namsuk. My hands started to shake. I counted them, once, twice, 3 times to make sure I wasn't making a mistake. 47 transfers over the past 6 years. I pulled out my phone and opened the calculator. The total came to just over 800,000 baht. Almost 20,000 pounds. She'd been siphoning money from our joint account and sending it to herself, to her other identity, the one she'd supposedly left behind. I went back to Mr. Pizet's desk. He looked up, saw my face, and his expression turned sympathetic. "Sir?" "These transfers," I said, putting the papers on his desk and pointing to them with a shaking finger. "Did I authorize these?" He looked at them, then back at me. He seemed uncomfortable. "Sir, these transfers were made from the joint account. Your wife has access to that account. She does not need your authorization to make transfers." "To herself?" I asked. "To an account in her other name?" He shifted in his chair. "I cannot comment on the recipient of the transfers, sir. That would be violating privacy regulations." "She's been stealing from me," I said. "No, sir," he said carefully. "It is a joint account. Both parties have equal access. Legally, she has every right to transfer money from that account. Even if I didn't know about it?" He looked genuinely sorry. "I am afraid so, yes. Joint account means joint ownership. I am very sorry, Mr. Graham." I picked up the papers. "When did these transfers start?" He checked his computer. "The first one appears to be from 6 years ago. March 2019. 4 years into our marriage. 4 years of trust and love, and believing we were building a life together, and she'd started siphoning money." "Thank you," I said quietly. "Mr. Graham," he said as I turned to leave. "Yes? I am sorry. You are a good man. You do not deserve this." I nodded because I didn't trust myself to speak. I walked out of the bank and sat on a bench outside. The heat was oppressive, but I barely felt it. I was numb. 800,000 baht, 6 years of secret transfers, an entire hidden identity. I thought about confronting her. I thought about calling the police. I thought about a lot of things. But mostly, I just felt tired. So tired. I went back to the hotel and lay down on that hard bed, and finally, mercifully, fell asleep. I woke up to knocking on the door. Persistent, gentle knocking. I knew who it was before I opened it. She stood in the hallway, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Her eyes were red. She wasn't wearing makeup. She looked exhausted. "How did you find me?" I asked. "I look everywhere," she said simply. "Can I come in?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to slam the door in her face, but I stepped aside and let her in. She sat on the edge of the bed. I stayed standing, leaning against the wall, as far from her as I could get in the small room. "I go to bank," she said. "I see Mr. Pizet. He tell me you come. You ask about account. So you know that I know," I said. She nodded. "I can explain." "Can you?" I asked. "Can you explain why you've been stealing from me for 6 years?" "I not steal," she said. "It our money. You say that yourself. Our money." "I said that because I thought we were partners," I said. "I thought we shared everything. I didn't know you were sending money to a secret account." "Is not secret," she said. "Is just safe." "Safe from what?" She looked down at her hands. "From being nothing again. From having nothing. I tell you before. I have hard life. I work bar. I do things I not proud of. Then I meet you and I think, maybe my life can be better. Maybe I can be different person. But I also scared. What if you change mind? What if you leave me? What if I alone again with nothing? So I save. I send money to my account. My safety. For 6 years, I said. While I thought we were building a life together, you were planning your escape. "No," she said firmly. "I never want leave you. I just want know if something happen, I be okay." "You didn't trust me," I said. "It not about trust," she insisted. "It about survive. You no understand because you never have nothing. You never be poor. You never be woman alone with no power. You always have choice. I never have choice. So I make my own safety. By lying to me," I said. "By having a secret identity and a secret bank account." "Yes," she said. "Yes, I do that. Because I learned when I young that only person who take care of me is me. My father die, my mother could not work, my sister too young. I 14 years old and I have to leave school to make money. 14. You know what that like? You know what I have to do to survive?" Her voice was rising now, emotion breaking through. "I work in restaurant, they no pay me enough. I work in factory, boss try to touch me. I work in massage place, customer ask for extra service. So I go to Bangkok. I think maybe big city have better work. But I have no education, no skill. Only thing I have is I young and I pretty. So I take job at bar. At first I just dance. But that no pay enough. So I do more. And you know what? Men like you, foreign men, they pay good money. They pay for company. They pay for feeling like they special. They pay for pretty girl who smile at them and make them feel young again." I felt like she'd punched me. "Men like me." "Yes," she said, looking me right in the eye. "Like you. Lonely. Divorced. Come to Thailand looking for something. You think you different because you fall in love? You think you different because you marry me? You like all of them. You need someone to make you feel good. And I need someone to take care of me. That how it work." "That's not fair," I said, but my voice was weak. "It true," she said. "Maybe you no want to hear it. But it true. I see you that day at spa and I think, this man good heart. This man kind. And yes, I think, this man have money. He can help my family. Both thing true. I like you and I see opportunity. Why that wrong? Why I have to pretend I fall in love with you for no reason? That not real life. Real life is I meet you and I think maybe we can help each other. And we do. I give you love. I give you home. I take care of you. I be good wife. And you give me safety. You give me life where I no have to dance in bar. Where I no have to smile at men who treat me like meat. That fair. That equal. But you didn't tell me the truth," I said. "Would you marry me if I tell you?" she asked. "If I say, hello, my name Charya, I work in go-go bar, I sleep with men for money, I marry German man for visa, you want marry me? You say yes?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to believe I would have looked past all of it, but I wasn't sure, and she knew it. "I give you what you want," she said. "I be Chanika. Clean. Pure. Simple village girl who just want quiet life. That who you want. So that who I be." "That's not love," I said. "That's acting. All women act," she said. "All women be what their man want them to be. I just more honest about it." We sat in silence for a while. I didn't know what to say. Everything she said made a terrible kind of sense, even though I hated it. The money, I finally said. The transfers. All that money you sent to your other account. What was it for? She took a breath. I buy land. In my village. In my real name. My mother name. For if I need to go back. For if this no work. You were planning to leave, I said. No, she said. I was planning to survive. Their difference. And now? I asked. What happens now? She looked at me with those dark eyes that I'd gazed into for 10 years. That up to you, she said. I still want be your wife. I still love you, in my way. But if you know can forgive me, if you know can trust me again, then I go. I take nothing, I leave you alone. But I want you know, Graham, these 10 years with you, they real. Maybe they start for wrong reason. Maybe I not tell you everything. But they real. You make me happy, you make me feel safe, you give me life I never think I have, and I try give you same. I try be good wife, I try make you happy. Maybe I no do it right way. But I try. She stood up. You think about it. You decide what you want. If you want me stay, I stay. If you want me go, I go. But whatever you decide, I want you know I grateful. I grateful you choose me. Even if it end now, I grateful I have 10 years with good man. She walked to the door, then paused and looked back. You asked me before if I love you. I tell you truth now. When I meet you, I know love you. I like you. I think you kind. But no, not love. But now, after 10 years, after all the morning coffee and all the sunset, and all the time you patient with me when I learn English and you learn Thai food, after you come to my village and be nice to my family, and you no complain when my mother won't give you food you no like, after all that, yes, I love you, maybe not perfect love, maybe not fairy tale, but real. That all I can give you. Real. She left. The door clicked shut behind her. I sat on that bed in that stale room and I cried. I cried for the woman I thought I married. I cried for the fool I'd been. I cried for 10 years of half-truths and careful omissions. But most of all, I cried because despite everything, despite all the lies and all the secrets, part of me still wanted to go home. I stayed in that hotel for another 4 days. Each day, I'd wake up and think about going back. Each day, I'd talk myself out of it. Mick called me on the 3rd day. Chanika had reached out to him, desperate, asking if he'd heard from me. Mate, what happened? He asked. I told you, I said. You were right. About all of it. Ah shit, he said, and for once he didn't sound smug. He sounded sympathetic. What'd she do? I told him. All of it. The different name, the bar work, the previous marriage, the secret bank account. He was quiet for a long time. That's rough, mate, he finally said. I'm sorry. You warned me, I said. I didn't listen. Look, for what it's worth, most of these women have similar stories, he said. Hard lives, few options, doing what they had to do to survive. It doesn't make it right that she lied to you, but I can understand why she did. Can you? I asked. Can you really? I've been here long enough to know how it works, he said. These women, they're smart, they're survivors, they do what they have to do. And yeah, sometimes that means not telling the whole truth. Sometimes it means becoming who they think you want them to be. That's not love, I said. Maybe not the kind we grew up believing in, he said, but it's something. It's practical, transactional, maybe. But also real in its own way. I don't know what to do, I admitted. That's something only you can figure out, he said. But can I give you some advice? Go ahead. Ask yourself what you really want. Not what you think you should want. Not what society tells you you should want. What do you actually want? I want her, I said, and saying it out loud made it real. I want to go home. I want it to be like it was. It won't be, he said gently. You can't unknow what you know now, but maybe it can be something else. Something different but still good. I don't know if I can trust her again, I said. Then don't go back, he said. Walk away. Start over. You're 62, not dead. You've got time to build a new life. But did I really want to start over again? The thought of it exhausted me. Going back to England, back to the cold and the loneliness. Or staying in Thailand but alone, in some new city, where I didn't know anyone. Starting from scratch. Again. Or I could go home. to the house we'd built together, to the woman who, despite everything, had taken care of me for 10 years, who'd made me laugh, who'd held my hand through the scary parts, who maybe hadn't loved me the way I wanted but had loved me in the way she could. I spent that evening writing in my notebook, trying to make sense of my thoughts. I made a list of all the lies she'd told me, all the things she'd hidden. It was a long list. Then I made a list of all the things she'd done for me, all the ways she'd made my life better. That list was longer. I thought about my ex-wife. Susan had told me the truth always, had been honest about her feelings, had never lied to me as far as I knew, but she'd also been cold, distant, had made me feel small and invisible, had looked at me with contempt in those final years. Chiang had lied, but she'd also made me feel seen, valued, important. She'd smiled at me every morning for 10 years like she was genuinely happy to see me. Was that all acting, all pretend? Or was it possible that it had started as pretend but became real somewhere along the way? I didn't know. I couldn't know. All I could do was decide what I was willing to live with. On the 5th day, I checked out of the hotel. I drove home. The house looked the same as it always had. The garden I'd worked on, the painted walls, the curtains she'd sewn. I parked in the driveway and sat there for a moment, gathering my courage. Then I went inside. She was in the kitchen. Of course she was. Where else would she be? She was chopping vegetables for dinner. When she heard me come in, she froze. The knife hovered above the cutting board. She turned slowly. We looked at each other across the kitchen. "Hi," I said. "Hi," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Can we talk?" I asked. She nodded, put down the knife, wiped her hands on a towel. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd had 1,000 meals together. I took a breath. "I'm not going to pretend this is okay," I said. "It's not. You lied to me about fundamental things, your name, your past. You kept secrets from me for our entire marriage. That hurts. It really hurts." She nodded, tears already forming in her eyes. "I know. I'm so sorry. But," I continued, "I also understand why you did it. I don't like it. I wish you'd trusted me enough to tell me the truth from the beginning. But I understand that you were trying to survive, that you were trying to build a life for yourself, and I can't fault you for that." "What you saying?" she asked. "I'm saying I don't want to throw away 10 years. I said, I don't want to walk away from this, from us, without at least trying to rebuild something." Her breath caught. "You stay?" "Maybe," I said. "But things have to change. No more secrets, no more lies. If we're going to make this work, we have to be honest with each other. Completely honest." "Okay," she said quickly. "Yes, I promise. I need you to close that other bank account," I said. "The one in your old name." She hesitated, just for a moment, but I saw it. "That my safety," she said quietly. "I know," I said. "But if we're going to do this, if we're going to really try, we have to trust each other. And I can't trust you if you're keeping escape money hidden away." She looked down at the table. "What if you leave me? What if I have nothing again? Then we figure it out together," I said. "We'll set up a proper savings account, in both our names, money we both contribute to and both have access to, equal, transparent. But you have to let go of Cheria. She's not who you are anymore." "She who I was," Chiang said. "She who kept me alive. And I'm grateful to her," I said. "I'm grateful she was strong enough to survive. But you don't need her anymore. You have me. You have us. If you want us, that is." She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "I want us. I do. I close account. I be honest. I try be better. I need to be better too," I admitted. "I put you on a pedestal. I made you into this perfect person who could never exist. I didn't see you as real. I saw you as my salvation. That wasn't fair to you either." She reached across the table and took my hand. "We both make mistake," she said. "But we still have chance. We still have love." "Yes, yes," I said. "We still have that." The next few months were hard. Harder than I expected. She closed the account like she promised. We opened a new joint savings account and started putting money into it every month. Equal contributions. Complete transparency. But trust doesn't rebuild overnight. I found myself watching her sometimes, wondering what else she might be hiding. When she went to the market, I'd wonder if she was really going to the market. When she got a phone call, I'd wonder who was on the other end. She felt it too. I could see it in the way she'd check with me before making any decisions, even small ones. "I go to visit my sister, okay?" She'd ask, seeking permission where before she would have just gone. "You should go," I'd say. "You don't need to ask me." But we both knew why she was asking. We started talking more. Really talking. I asked her about her past, about the things she'd hidden from me. At first, she was reluctant, scared even, but gradually, she opened up. She told me about growing up poor, about her father's death, about being the eldest daughter and feeling responsible for everyone. She told me about going to Bangkok at 19, naive and hopeful. About the first bar she worked in, how scared she was the first time she went upstairs with a customer. "I cry after," she said. "I go to bathroom and I cry. But I also count money. 5,000 baht, more than I make in month at restaurant. So I dry my tears and I do it again." She told me about the German man, Dieter, how he'd approached her with a business proposition. Marriage for a visa, he'd pay her well, no strings attached. They'd married in a courthouse in Bangkok, maintained separate lives, annulled it after 6 months once his visa was secure. "He kind," she said. "He no try to touch me. He keep promise, give me money, and leave me alone." She told me about changing her name, about wanting to escape the bar scene, about moving to Chiang Mai for a fresh start, about taking the job at the spa and thinking maybe, finally, she could be someone different. "Then you walk in," she said. "And I see you and I think, this man carries sadness. Same like me. Maybe we can carry it together. Maybe together it feel less heavy." I told her about my marriage to Susan, about how I'd felt invisible for years before the divorce, about the heart attack and the fear that I was going to die alone and forgotten, about coming to Thailand not knowing what I was looking for but hoping I'd find something. "I thought you saved me," I said. "I thought you were the answer to everything. But that wasn't fair to you. You're not responsible for my happiness. You're just responsible for being you." "Who am I?" she asked. "I'm not sure anymore. I Charya, I Chanika, I someone else." "You're both," I said. "You're who you were and who you've become. And that's okay. People aren't just one thing." We went to counseling. I found a therapist in Chiang Mai who specialized in cross-cultural relationships. It felt strange at first, sitting in an office and talking about our problems to a stranger, but it helped. The therapist, a Thai woman named Dr. Pim who'd studied in Australia, helped us understand each other better. She talked about the different expectations we'd brought to the marriage. How I'd been looking for romance, and she'd been looking for security. How both were valid but needed to be reconciled. "Love means different things to different people," Dr. Pim said. "In Western culture, love is often about passion, romance, emotional fulfillment. In Thai culture, especially for women who've struggled, love is about action, about taking care of someone, about building stability together. Neither is wrong. They're just different." She helped Chanika articulate things she'd never been able to say before, about the shame she'd carried from her bar work, about feeling like she was damaged goods, about believing that if I knew the real her, I'd leave. "I think if you know truth, you think I dirty," Chanika said in one session. "You think I used goods, so I hide. I pretend. I be who you want me to be." "I never thought you were dirty," I said. "Maybe not in head," she said. "But here?" She put her hand over her heart. "Here you want pure woman. Clean. No past. And I know can give you that." "I don't need that," I said. "I just needed honesty." Dr. Pim worked with me too, on my tendency to idealize people, to see what I wanted to see rather than what was really there. "You made your wife into a fantasy," she said. "When you met her, you were vulnerable and lonely. She was kind to you, and in your mind, she became everything you needed her to be. Perfect. Uncomplicated. Devoted. But no real person can live up to a fantasy, and when reality crashed in, you felt betrayed. Not just by her lies, but by the destruction of the image you'd created." She was right. I had created an image of Chanika that didn't match reality. The gentle village girl, with no past, no complexity, no survival instincts. I'd wanted to believe in that image so badly that I'd ignored all the signs that it wasn't complete. We worked on rebuilding, slowly. Some days were good, We'd have breakfast together, and it would feel almost like before. We'd laugh at something silly or work in the garden, and I'd feel that familiar warmth. Other days were hard. I'd remember the lies and feel that sharp pain of betrayal all over again. She'd see it in my face and withdraw, scared that I was going to leave. This take time, Dr. Pym told us. Trust is rebuilt slowly, through consistent action over many months. It's not linear. You'll have good days and bad days, but if you both commit to the process, you can build something stronger than what you had before. Because this time, it will be built on truth. 6 months after I'd come home, we had our first real fight, not about the past, but about the present. She wanted to send money to her sister for a medical bill, a legitimate expense, and not a large amount. But I'd seen the request come through on her phone, and my immediate reaction was suspicion. How do I know that's really what it's for? I asked. She looked at me like I'd slapped her. You think I lie about my sister being sick? I don't know, I said. You lied about everything else. That not fair, she said, her voice rising. I try so hard. I be honest about everything. I show you every baht I spend. I tell you everywhere I go. What more you want? I want to trust you, I shouted back. But every time something comes up, I wonder if you're lying to me again. Then why you stay, she shouted. If you know can trust me, if you think I always lying, why you here? I didn't have an answer. We stood there in the kitchen, both breathing hard, the space between us feeling like a canyon. Then she started crying. Not the delicate tears she'd cried before, but big, gulping sobs that shook her whole body. I so tired, she said through the tears. I so tired of being sorry. I so tired of you looking at me like I going to hurt you. I made mistake, big mistake. But I try to fix it. I try every day, but you no let me. You keep punishing me. I felt my anger drain away. She was right. I was punishing her, holding the past over her head, never letting her forget, never letting her move forward. I'm sorry, I said. You're right. I'm not being fair. She wiped her eyes. I love you, Graham. I really do. But I know can live like this. With you always watching me, always waiting for me to do something wrong. That not life. That prison. I know, I said. I don't want it to be like this either. We sat down at the table, both of us exhausted. What we do? She asked. I think we have to make a choice, I said. Either we move forward, really move forward, or we let each other go. This in-between place, it's not working. It's not fair to either of us. I want move forward, she said, but you have to want it too. You have to really forgive me. Not just say you forgive me, but then remind me of what I did every time we have problem. I want to forgive you, I said. I'm trying. But it's hard. I know it hard, she said, but I need to know you really trying, not just staying because you scared to be alone. That hit home. Was that what I was doing? Staying because I was afraid of being alone again? I thought about it for a long time. Maybe that was part of it at first, I admitted. But not anymore. I stay because I want to. Because despite everything, I still think what we have is worth fighting for. She looked at me, searching my face for the truth. Really? Really? I said. But we both have to do better. I have to stop living in the past, and you have to understand that rebuilding trust takes time. I'm not going to wake up one day and suddenly trust you completely. It's going to be gradual. She nodded. Okay, we both try harder. Deal? Deal, I said. We sent the money to her sister. The next week, her sister sent me photos from the hospital and a thank you message in broken English. The medical bill was real. I felt ashamed for doubting her. Progress came in small moments. A month later, she got offered a full-time position at the massage school. Better pay, more hours, a chance to teach advanced classes. She was excited but nervous. You okay if I take it? She asked. It mean I home less, I working more. Of course I'm okay with it, I said. It's your career. You should do what makes you happy. You sure? You no need me home all the time? I need you to be fulfilled, I said. If this job does that, then yes, absolutely take it. She took the job. She was good at it. She'd come home tired but energized, telling me about the students she was teaching, the techniques she was developing. I could see her confidence growing. She was becoming more herself, not just what she thought I wanted her to be. We celebrated our 11th anniversary. We went back to the same restaurant where we'd celebrated our 10th, exactly a year after that night that had started everything unraveling. Last time we hear, I know you would find out about me, she said as we sat down. No, everything would change. Would you have told me? I asked. If the police hadn't called, would you ever have told me the truth? She thought about it. I know no. Maybe not. I too scared. Are you glad I found out? I asked. She considered the question seriously. Yes, she said finally. It hard. So hard. But yes. Before. I always worry. Always think. What if he find out? What if he leave me? Now I no have to worry. You know everything. You stay anyway. That mean more than you know. I'm glad I found out too, I said, even though it hurt. Because you're right. We can't build something real on lies. It might have looked good on the surface, but it would always have been unstable. We toasted to honesty, to rebuilding, to the messy, complicated, imperfect reality of love. Things got better. Not perfect, but better. I stopped checking her phone. I stopped questioning every expense. I started to trust again, not blindly like before, but consciously, choosing to trust her because of who she was showing herself to be now, not who she had been in the past. She became more open about her past. She introduced me to friends from her Bangkok days, women who'd also worked in bars, who'd also married foreign men, who'd also built new lives. At first, I was uncomfortable around them. They knew things about her life that I was still processing, but they were kind to me, welcomed me. One of them, a woman named Noi who was married to an Australian, pulled me aside at a gathering. You good man, she said in heavily accented English. Chanika very lucky. Not many man can hear the truth and stay. I love her, I said simply. Love not always enough, Noi said. You also respect her, you try understand her. That why it work. I thought about that conversation a lot. She was right. Love alone wouldn't have been enough. It required respect, understanding, the willingness to see the world through Chanika's eyes, even when it was uncomfortable. I started to understand the choices she'd made not as betrayals but as survival strategies. She'd done what she needed to do to survive in a world that didn't give her many options. And when she'd found a way out, when she'd found me, she'd grabbed onto it with both hands. Maybe she hadn't been completely honest about how she'd grabbed on or why, but she'd held on. For 10 years, she'd held on. And somewhere along the way, obligation had become genuine affection, and affection had become love. One evening, about a year after everything had come out, we were sitting in our usual spot in the garden. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. She had jasmine in her hair like always. I've been thinking, she said. About what? About us, about everything that happened. And I want to say thank you, she said. For what? For giving me chance to be honest, for not just leaving when you find out, for trying to understand. You don't need to thank me for that, I said. Yes, I do, she insisted. Many men would leave, would be angry forever, would make me feel bad about my past. But you try to understand. You hurt, I know. But you also try to see why I do what I do. That mean everything to me. You're my wife, I said. I made a commitment to you. I wasn't going to throw that away just because things got hard. But you could, she said. You could leave any time. You choose to stay. That mean you really love me. Not idea of me, but real me. She was right. I did love the real her. The complicated, flawed, strong survivor version of her. The woman who'd done what she had to do to survive and wasn't ashamed of it anymore. The woman who'd lied to me but was trying every day to be honest. The woman who'd married me partly for security but had grown to love me genuinely. That was real. That was worth holding on to. I do love you, I said. The real you. All of you. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I love you too. Real love. Not just because you give me good life, but because you good man, kind man, patient man. You make me want to be better person. We sat there as the sun disappeared below the horizon and the sky turned dark. The air cooled. Crickets started their evening chorus. The jasmine in her hair released its sweet scent. This was peace, not the false peace of ignorance, but the hard-won peace of truth. Not perfect, but real. And real was better. We decided to leave Chiang Mai. Not because we were running away, but because we needed a fresh start. Somewhere that didn't have memories of lies attached to every corner. We talked about it for months. Where should we go? What did we want? I always liked the beach, she said. When I was child, my family go to beach one time. I never forget it. The sound of waves. The smell of salt air. I always want live near beach. Then let's do it, I said. Let's find a place by the coast. We looked at several towns. Hua Hin, Cha Am, Prachuap Khiri Khan. Finally settled on Hua Hin. It was developed enough to have amenities but still quiet. Still felt like Thailand, not like a tourist resort. We sold the house in Chiang Mai, split the money from the sale into our joint account, drove south with everything we owned packed into our car and a small trailer, started over. We found a studio apartment near the beach, much smaller than our house had been, but cozy. One room that served as bedroom, living room and dining room, a tiny kitchenette, a balcony that looked out over the water. It was enough. Chanika found work at a resort spa. I didn't work, didn't need to. My pension was enough for both of us to live on simply. I'd wake up early every morning and walk along the beach, miles and miles of sand. I'd watch the fishermen pull in their nets, watch the dogs chase each other through the surf, watch the sun climb over the horizon. I'd think about my life, about the strange path that had led me here. From Sheffield to Thailand, from Susan to Chanika, from ignorance to knowledge to acceptance. I'd think about who I was before I met Chanika. Lonely, depressed, feeling like my life was over at 52. And who I was now, content, aware, still learning how to be in a relationship built on honesty rather than illusion. One morning, a few months after we'd moved, I was sitting at our usual cafe near the beach when an older Thai woman sat down at the table next to mine. She was alone, drinking coffee and reading a book. After a while, she looked over and smiled. "You here every morning?" she said in perfect English. "I notice you. I like the routine," I said. "The coffee's good. You live here or tourist?" "I live here, with my wife." She nodded. "I see you walking with her sometimes, the pretty one with jasmine in her hair." "That's her," I said, smiling. "You lucky man," she said, "to have someone to share the morning with." "I am lucky," I agreed. "What about you? Are you here alone?" "My husband died 2 years ago," she said. "We lived here for 20 years, now it's just me. But I like it. The beach reminds me of him. We used to walk every morning, just like you." "I'm sorry for your loss," I said. "Don't be," she said. "We had good life, long life together. That's all anyone can ask for." I thought about that. A long life together. Chanika and I were in our 11th year now. If we were lucky, if my health held out, we might have another 20 years, maybe more. How would we spend them? What would we build together? That evening, I talked to Chanika about it, about the woman at the cafe and what she'd said, about making the most of the time we had. "I've been thinking," I said, "we should travel more, see more of Thailand, maybe other countries too. We have time, we have enough money, let's not waste it." "Where you want to go?" she asked, her eyes lighting up. "Everywhere," I said. "Anywhere you want." Over the next few years we did travel. We went to the islands in the south, Koh Samui and Koh Phangan and Koh Tao, snorkeled in crystal clear water, ate fresh seafood on the beach. We went to Bangkok and stayed in a nice hotel, did all the tourist things we'd never done. Visited the Grand Palace, took a boat through the floating market, ate street food until we were stuffed. We went to her village for festivals, for weddings, for births. Became part of her family in a way I hadn't been before. Her mother treated me like a son. Her sister's children called me uncle. We even went back to England once. I wanted to show her where I'd come from. We spent a week in Sheffield, and I showed her the streets I'd grown up on, the pub where I used to drink with mates, the railway station where I'd worked. Marcus met us for lunch. It was awkward at first. We hadn't seen each other in years. He'd gotten married, had a daughter I'd never met. "This is Chanika," I said, introducing them. "My wife." Marcus shook her hand. Looked at me with questions in his eyes that he didn't ask. Over lunch, I could see him watching us, trying to figure out our relationship. At one point, when Chanika went to the restroom, he leaned over. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Are you happy? Really happy?" I thought about the question, about everything Chanika and I had been through. The lies and the truth and the rebuilding. Yes, I said. I really am. That's all that matters then, he said. And I could see him letting go of whatever judgments he'd been holding, just wanting his father to be happy. We stayed in England for a week, then flew back to Thailand, to Hua Hin. To home. I like England, Chanaka said on the plane. But I like home better. Me too, I agreed. Thailand was home now, had been for over a decade. I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. Back in Hua Hin, we fell back into our routine. Morning walks, coffee at the cafe, her work at the spa. My reading and gardening and hours spent watching the ocean. It was a quiet life, a simple life, but it was ours. Honest and real, and built on a foundation of truth, however painful that truth had been to uncover. Nick came to visit once. He'd moved to Pattaya, but drove down for a weekend. We sat at a beach bar, drinking beer, and watching the sunset. You look good, mate, he said. Happy. I am, I said. Really? After everything? Because of everything, I corrected. We went through hell, but we came out the other side. We know each other now. Really know each other. That's worth something. He shook his head. I couldn't do it. If my missus had lied to me like that, I'd have been done. Maybe, I said. But maybe you'd have surprised yourself. Maybe, he conceded. You've changed, you know. You used to be so, I don't know, sad, lost. Now you seem settled, sure of yourself. I know who I am now, I said, and I know who she is. That makes all the difference. Chanika joined us then, carrying drinks. She sat next to me, her hand finding mine automatically. Nick watched us, and I saw something like envy cross his face. You two really made it work, he said. We did, Chanika said. It not easy, but we try hard. We both change. We both grow up. That's what it takes, isn't it? Nick said. Growing up, even when you're already old. We all laughed at that. On our 12th anniversary, we went back to Chiang Mai, just for a few days. Visited the restaurant where we'd celebrated our 10th. Walked through the night market. Went to the temple where we'd gotten married. You remember that day? She asked as we stood in front of the temple. Every detail, I said. I was so nervous, so afraid you'd change your mind. I was nervous too, she admitted. I think, what if he find out who I really am? What if he hate me? I could never hate you, I said. Even when I was angry, even when I was hurt, I never hated you. I know, she said. That's why I love you. We stood there for a while, looking at the temple, remembering who we'd been that day. So much younger, so much more naive. Both hiding parts of ourselves from each other. If you could go back, I asked, would you do it differently? Would you tell me the truth from the beginning? She thought about it. I won't say yes, but honest, I no think so. If I tell you truth, you maybe no marry me. Then we no have these 12 years. So no, I think I do same thing. Take chance. Hope you love me enough to forgive me when you find out. I'm glad you took the chance, I said, even though it hurt. Even though it hurt, I confirmed, because the alternative was never knowing you at all, and that would have been worse. We flew back to Hua Hin the next day. Back to our little apartment by the beach. Back to our quiet, honest life. I'm 64 now. Chanika is 34. We've been married 12 years, together for nearly 13. People still look at us sometimes, seeing the age difference, making assumptions. I used to care, now I don't. They don't know our story. They don't know what we've been through. They don't know that we've built something real from something false, that we've turned lies into truth and hurt into healing. Every morning, I still make coffee and sit in our small balcony, watching the sunrise. She still joins me with her tea, still has jasmine in her hair most days. We still don't talk much in the mornings. Still don't need to. The difference is, now the silence isn't hiding anything. It's just comfortable, peaceful, real. I think about that phone call sometimes, the one from Officer Chanthawat that changed everything. I used to wish it had never happened, wish I could have stayed in ignorant bliss, but now I'm grateful. Because ignorant bliss isn't real. It's just a pretty lie. And pretty lies, no matter how comfortable, eventually crumble. We built our marriage on a pretty lie, and when it crumbled, we had a choice. Walk away from the rubble, or clear it away and build something new on solid ground. We chose to build. It was hard. Harder than anything I'd ever done. Harder than the divorce. Harder than the heart attack, harder than moving to a foreign country alone, but it was worth it, because what we have now is real. Chanika isn't who I thought she was when I married her. She's better, she's stronger and more complicated and more honest. She's a survivor who doesn't apologize for surviving. She's a woman who made hard choices and owns them. She's someone who loved me enough to lie to keep me, and then loved me enough to tell the truth and risk losing me. And I'm not who I was either. I'm not the lonely, desperate man who walked into that spa 7 years ago looking for someone to save him. I'm someone who learned that no one can save you except yourself. Someone who learned that love isn't about perfection, it's about acceptance. About seeing someone fully, flaws and all, and choosing them anyway. That's what we do every day. We choose each other. Not because we have to, not because we're afraid to be alone, but because despite everything, because of everything, we want to. She wasn't who she said she was. But she was who I needed her to be. Not a fantasy, not a salvation. Just a real person, flawed and strong and honest, trying to build a good life with another flawed, strong person, trying to do the same. I loved her fully, even when I didn't know her fully. And I left her whole when I walked out, and then I came back. Because leaving her whole meant I could choose her again with my eyes open. 10 years wasn't a waste. 12 years hasn't been a waste. However, many years we have left won't be a waste, because we know each other now, really know each other, and we still choose this, we still choose us. That's all the closure I need, that's all the happiness I need. A quiet life by the beach with a woman who has jasmine in her hair and truth in her eyes. A woman who isn't perfect but is perfectly herself. And a man who learned finally that that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything.